This is The Perspective.
We welcome you to Fairborn, Ohio. Tonight it's Horizon League basketball. The Wright State Raiders, winners of 4 in a row, 6-7 overall, 3-1 in league play, taking on the Flames of UIC. They dropped their only 2 games in the league this year, and they're 4-7 overall.
Taking it strong in the basket. It's blocked by Braun. Gets it off to Finke. Finke, step back 3, out long. He knocks it down as the shot clock expires. Here's a pass over to Holden. He takes it in with a 2-hand jam. Good pass, left side Norris sets up Rainbow 3. Got it. Side into the paint, goes up and under with the right hand and scores. Calvin gets the inbounds pass, taking the ball inside, jump stop. Fadeaway shot, rolls around and in for Trey Calvin. Here's Calvin with 15 to shoot. His 3 is good, deep from the left side. And it's Trey Calvin, who has really been shooting well of late. Drops down his second 3 of the game, and the Raiders on top by 2.
That voice you just heard is the voice of our next guest here on The Perspective, Chris Collins of Play-by-Play for 980 WONE and on ESPN Plus for Wright State Basketball. Also works with WHIO Radio. Chris, appreciate you joining us here on the show.
Parker, thanks for asking me. I do appreciate it. Love to get out here with all the students.
Yeah, absolutely. So first question I have for you is, how did you get your start in radio?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. I went to school, and I was working out of school, and then I decided to go to a broadcast school. All right, and then I started my first job was in Kenton, Ohio. I don't know if you know where that's at.
I do not.
It is north of Dayton, north of Bell Fountain, all right, and just to the east of Lima. So when you go to those small radio stations, WKTN, it was 95.3, I believe it was, FM, you do everything. So I went in there and I became the evening disc jockey, okay, also with the intention when I was hired to do county basketball and football games. And at that time, you guys, your eyes are just going to just bug out right now. The county games were on after the Kenton City League team game was. So I had to actually record my games on tape, on cassette tape. A salesperson would come out, get the first half, run it back, start it right after the Kenton game that was live, and then I would bring the second half back and they have the second half of the tape delay game on afterwards.
Wow.
So I did that my first year. And I was so fortunate, I'll have to tell you this, was I covered the county schools, and one of the schools went to the regional finals of the Ohio State Tournament. Upper Scioto Valley, which was in Hardin County, which is where Kenton's located. They went and they played Kalida, and they went to Bowling Green State University, and they played in the regional finals. So I had an opportunity to do those games live. So, yeah, I had a very interesting beginning to my career.
Yeah. So we'll obviously come to Dayton, work with WHIO, and then how did you get involved with the Wright State Basketball?
Okay, at the time I was working at O&E and also Mix 107.7, and I was doing a lot of different things at those stations, and one of those was actually programming O&E. We had ESPN Radio at the time, and we also had the Wright State Raiders. Well, in addition to that, I got to know the athletic sports information director. His name is Bob Noss. Been here for many, many years, just retired a few years ago. And he indicated to me, he said, listen, we need somebody to do some of these Time Warner broadcasts of the women's basketball. So I happened to be there one game, and somebody didn't show up. So I ended up doing the game myself. And Dr. Mike Cusack, who was the athletic director at the time, noticed that at halftime. He came over, and he worked with me for the second half. Well, at the end of the season, there was a change with the men's basketball program. Jim Brown was not retained as the head coach. He was the interim head coach at the time and took over for Ralph Underhill. And they made a change, and they brought in Ed Schilling. Well, at the time, they needed somebody to do the game, so they reverted back, and they said, well, would he be interested? So I had to pull out that tape that I did for that regional final game. And, I mean, it sounded like it was from 1940, all right? So I submitted that, went through the interview process, and thankfully for myself, I was given the opportunity to do the games.
So you mentioned Coach Brown.
Yep.
He's your color commentator on 980 and on ESPN Plus. You guys have tremendous chemistry. Can you explain how you work so well with Coach Brown?
It's easy, actually, Parker. You've gotten to know him.
Yeah.
I mean, he is an encyclopedia of Wright State University basketball.
Yeah.
He has been here since the beginning of the school because he's been teaching a basketball class up until 2 years ago, I believe, where he finally decided to just totally retire. But he had been on the coaching staff, since the mid-'70s. So he has been here basically when it started, okay, when it made the transition from Division II, which they were the national champions, back in 1982 and 83. and then he became Division I. So he has been here pretty much the whole time. He was gone after he was, let go here, and he was a high school coach for years, but he stayed in touch with the program. So if there's anything you need to know about Wright State basketball, Jim Brown is the guy, and he's such a wonderful person. I mean, it's so easy to be able to work with somebody like that. He's just a gracious, wonderful guy who's very competitive.
Oh, yeah.
And very passionate
Yeah.
about Wright State athletics.
Yeah, I love the conversations we have always before the games about the previous road trip or
Right.
what's going on in the NBA or whatever it is. He's just like you said, an encyclopedia of not basketball information, but all just sports information. You can talk to him all day.
And if I may, another thing that I'm very impressed with what he's able to bring to the table here at Wright State is all of the student athletes. I mean, just about all of them. He remembers them, and they remember him. And we've gone on the road a few times. Guys come up and tap us on the shoulder. He knows who they are. He asks them how they are. He stays in touch with many of the student athletes that he's had contact with over the years, and I think that says a lot about his character.
Yeah. So was it always basketball for you? Any other sports that you've done or wanted to do?
Yeah, at the time when I came in here, I went ahead. Like I said, I did high school football at various stations over the years, high school basketball also. But when I came to Wright State, they had a deal with Time Warner Cable, and we carried other sports in addition to men's basketball. Of course, we were primarily on radio at that time, but we had the other sports like women's basketball was on. We had baseball. We had soccer, both men's and women's, and volleyball. And believe it or not, we were able to, by the magic of TV editing, we were able to do cross country in addition to golf. So you're shaking your head, and you probably say, "Oh, I think I know how they did this." We would just do a little feature here and there on each hole or whatever, and we would put it all together, and it would be edited together, and then you can play it back within an hour, hour and a half, however long it took. So,
Okay.
yeah, I got my hand in a lot of things when I came over here.
Awesome. Well, for you, what's the most enjoyable part about calling games? Is it the day-to-day? Is it the fact that everything's different every time? What is it? What's that most enjoyable part about it for you?
Well, that's a great question because, I think about it and I just feel like I'm so lucky to have the opportunity to be able to do something that, I've always wanted to do. Actually, like anybody else, I don't know how you felt, but I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. But I found out that I'm nowhere near talented as those guys
Right.
are. So, I had to find something else to do, and I love sports, all sports, had a passion for it. And I'm just thankful that I have the opportunity to be able to do, what I do. And again, I'm very thankful to the university and the athletic department for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm very similar. I came here wanting to be a high school teacher and coach baseball because I coached Little League when I was in high school, and then I found this place, and I was like, you know what, this is a heck of a lot of fun. I'm going to keep doing this. But
It's the coaching without the pressure.
yeah, exactly.
Is what we talk about. I've talked to Coach Brown about that many times. That if I may,
Sure.
in talking about Coach Brown, it's hard for him to separate being a coach because he was for so many years and tough losses that we've had to experience with this team over the years. You could tell, it stayed with him, because he felt like he was part of that, which, hey, I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. But then maybe 10, 15 minutes later, he goes, you know what? I'm glad I'm broadcasting now and not coaching.
Right.
He said, because it is really hard to take those tough losses.
Well, you can almost hear it on the broadcasts. How he dissects a play,
Yeah.
how he dissects, first half recap, like what the team needs to do going into the half to win the game. Post game, you can hear that. You can hear the coach in him on the broadcast. And I think that's what makes him so good.
It does, and one other thing about him, and the fans really love the people who followed this program for many years that he has been here. He's very transparent.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim doesn't say something and not mean it.
Right.
He's not afraid to give his opinion.
Yeah.
Although he understands that they're student athletes also.
Right.
And they're not professionals. So he walks that fine line, but he's also telling people who may not be here, who aren't watching it, who are listening to it on the radio, he gives them an interesting perspective.
He does, and I think I hear it all the time. If there's a play where Wright State didn't play very good defense, he comes out and he'll say, that was not good defense. Here's what they need to do on the next possession and so forth. So What for you have been some of your favorite moments over 25 years of
Wow,
Wright State basketball? And I know that's a very tough question. I've asked that of all the broadcasters and coaches I've had on this show. What's been some of those fond memories?
I was thinking about that when I was driving here from my house out here this afternoon, and I thought to myself, there's so many of them. But I think, like you said earlier, you were wanting to be a teacher and a coach. You like winning, okay?
Yeah.
So some of the more memorable times for me have been in basketball, have been the championships. That first one, at least since I've been here in 25 years, was back in 2006, 2007, when Deshaun Wood and Brad Brownell in his first season, led the Wright State Raiders with a big win over Butler. I'll never forget the Nutter Center that night, how electric it was. Wright State got off to a tough start. They were down 10-2, but then Deshaun Wood just put the team on his back. And it was a great game, back and forth, all the way until the end, and they came out and they won the championship. I stayed around for a while. All right, it was a 7:00 start, whatever. I don't think I left here till like 11:00, and Coach Brownell was still back, getting his stuff together and walking out. And I happened to be, sitting right where I sit to call the game, and I was there, and he kind of looked at me. He goes, "You going home?" There's still confetti on the floor. I told him, I said, I just wanted to soak this in because you never know how many opportunities that you get to have, to be able to be part, of a championship team. And of course, later on, when Coach Nagy came here back in 2017, the team went to the NCAA tournament, winning in Detroit at Little Caesars Arena, and then going on to play in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and those stick out to me. I had Brad Brownell on this show, and he talked about those championships and those times and working with the athletic department. And I think that and you've seen it firsthand. We've seen it here. I think we're so fortunate to have an athletic department that just is so willing to work with you, and they're so forthcoming and willing to help.
Oh, they are. And it starts right at the top with the athletic director, Bob
Of course,
Grant.
yeah.
And then you have, and you don't realize that they don't have a whole lot of resources.
Right.
Okay, what they're able to work with, and you see how successful that they've been. I know you guys, look at the volleyball team the past few years.
Oh yeah.
I can remember years where that program was struggling.
Yeah.
What Allie Matters has done, and you guys bringing the excitement to those games. Also, it says a lot. About the philosophy of this athletic department and the coaching staffs and what they do for their student athletes.
So you were also a news anchor at WHIO.
Yep.
What do you enjoy about that? I know there's similarities and differences between calling games and working in corporate radio and doing news radio. What do you enjoy most about that?
They gave me the opportunity to be a part of that morning show. I was at the time, looking for full-time work, and I had worked many years in this market at Mix 107.7. And it was a different type of news that I did there because it was more of an entertainment type station. But I went ahead, found this job. Actually, I went over there to work part-time, but then they said, "Hey, would you like to work full-time?" And I told them, I said, only if I can still do my games. And as you well know, they're the anchor station for the University of Dayton Flyers.
Yeah.
So I'm so thankful that, Cox CMG was able to say, yeah, that's fine. You can go ahead and do that. And also the fact that the people here at Wright State said, it was fine to go ahead and do that. But as far as doing the news is concerned, hey, you look for work in radio, and you be as professional as you can be at what you do. And I'm very fortunate that I work with a great group of people, as you well know, because you're over there also.
Right.
We are small in numbers also over there, but
Right.
there are a lot of people who have been there for so many years, who have so much experience, but then again, they all know about what it takes to be a team player.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate you talking to me about broadcasting, and Larry Hansgen over there at WHIO has been very helpful. So again, to have both you gentlemen, Larry, and yourself, Chris Collins, in this market calling basketball games is awesome for the market.
Well, we appreciate that. We're lucky. People talk about so-called rivalry, but these two teams have not met since the first year I did games. So that's going back 25 years. They played back in 1997. I believe it was in November, December. It was in December at UD Arena, and that's the last time the men's programs have played a basketball game at that time. Now, there have been a lot of people talk about, do you think they should play? Well, sure they should. Okay, but then again, it's beyond our control.
Right.
And I have a lot of respect for the Dayton program. Larry has a lot of respect for Wright State, and what they've accomplished over the years. So, I know people get a little emotional about it, but, folks, listen, unless the two schools agree to play, don't even think about it because both have been successful.
So for you, what's next for Chris Collins?
I'll tell you right now, Parker. Retirement's not far around the corner. All right, it's hard. You'll know when it's time to go. Okay,
Yeah.
you know when it is, but I'm coming up on my 65th birthday, and that's coming up in October of this year. I'm eligible to, but I don't know. I just haven't really given that much thought. But if you say what's next, that would be what's next. I have grandchildren. One of them is a freshman in college playing softball. The other's a freshman in high school playing softball. And I got 3 grandsons down in the Cincinnati area. 2 of them are already involved in swimming. One is 10, the other one's 7. And there's another one who'll be turning 4 years old in a few more months. He just runs around looking cute. So I don't know what he wants to do right now. But again, family means a lot to me.
Of course.
And over the years, I've also, like you said, I just wanted to mention this. I coached baseball for a while I did 3 jobs. Just as soon as I got this job doing games, I was also working, at Mix 107.7 and WONE. But in addition to that, I was a assistant baseball coach at Sinclair College. At that time, I was for a couple of years. My high school coach was the coach, and he asked me to help him. I got $500 a year. They gave me a check, $250 for the fall, $250 for the spring. All right, but again, I had a passion for it. I really enjoyed it. But then I realized, you know what? I'm cheating my family right here. So I think I just wanted to answer your question. I want to do more family stuff.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And talking about baseball, I've been fortunate enough to work with Wright State's program as a student manager my first semester here, and just the class and the work ethic that they put in, Coach Sogard, Coach Metzger, the whole staff there, and it shows. They're the defending Horizon League champions. So baseball is my first love, and it always will be. I'm a big baseball fan.
We have that in common, Parker. We really do, because, like I said, I wanted to be a baseball player. I played high school baseball into junior college, and it's like, it was over. I didn't want it to be over.
Right.
Having the opportunity, not as much as with the basketball team, but some of the games that we're able to broadcast, for ESPN Plus for the baseball team. To me, it's like last year I got to do the Horizon League tournament, and I thought I'd be able to work with someone. But the Horizon League told me, they said, nope, you're doing it yourself. So I had to do every one of those games, by myself. But I was blessed to have a wonderful production crew that came in here. I don't know if they were from Indianapolis or not, I'm not sure. But they had some great pictures. And if you don't have to broadcast on a radio, okay, you can let those pictures take over, and they pretty much tell the story.
Yeah.
But I had a great time doing that. So if I have that opportunity ever again here, I'm going to say, I want you guys to come down there. All right? We'll see if we can get you on the payroll.
Okay. Well, and going back to other sports, growing up, you said you played baseball.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Chris Collins a multi-sport athlete here.
No.
just baseball?
It was just baseball, because after my freshman year in high school, everybody started getting taller than me. I have this stature. I'm only 5'6", 5'7", actually. 5'7" is what they measured me at. And I decided, you know what, I ain't going to do this. I played basketball up through 9th grade, and that was it. I didn't get involved in football. I was just pretty much basketball and baseball. Although when the neighborhood guys got together, we played every sport.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know how that is. I mean, everybody gets together. We played tackle football with no pads and helmets and that type of thing. Every Sunday or Saturday morning, we'd go down to this field. We would play, but that was up until about high school began, and I just got more serious about baseball, and I quit basketball because people were much bigger than me and much more talented.
Right. So, Wright State basketball this season.
Yeah.
What do you like? What do you not like? Is from the eyes of Chris Collins going into the final stretch of the year.
I had a feeling going into the season that there would be 4 or 5 teams that have an opportunity to win. Well, it's turned out now, as you can tell, 6 or 7.
Oh, yeah.
Really have a legitimate opportunity to win, the Horizon League tournament. It's a one-bid league. I mean, it is. It has been, and hopefully that can change over the next few years, but it's going to make it exciting. I knew this team had the opportunity because they have a very talented 5, players on their starting. Who start for this team. These are juniors, who have been together now, for 3, and Grant Basile, he's been here 4 years because he redshirted his first year.
Right.
But I thought they definitely legitimately have a chance. But here of late, I get a little concerned, just my own opinion, about how they're able to hold up because of the number of games that they've played, especially away. Coach Nagy, as you well know, does not make excuses.
No.
He doesn't make any. He doesn't want to hear that, which I think is great, and he's right. Okay, but I just sit down and I think about how much more can you take? I mean, here just recently, had 3 games in 5 days. So did NKU, and they won that game the other day here at our place. Give them credit.
Yeah.
They came out and played extremely well early on in that game. Raiders made a game of it late, but they had to go through the same thing. Wright State, when we flew away from Milwaukee after that second game, that was a tough loss.
Yeah, it was.
Losing there at Milwaukee, and that kind of sticks with you. Well, we had to wait 2 hours on a bus in the parking lot of the hotel. Not the hotel, I mean of the airport, because it was late coming back to pick us up. So we had to just sit on a bus for 2 hours after a tough loss like that. And to me, it was impressive because nobody was sulking. Nobody was whining. Nobody was pointing fingers. It was like, it just shows me, what kind of student athletes that we have here, at Wright State. And in my 25 years, I can't think of maybe 1 or 2, and that was in the early years that, would seem like they just don't fit, but especially here recently with Coach Nagy. I mean, they bring a quality people, not only as skilled basketball players, but also just quality people.
Yeah, and what you said, and again, we really appreciate the time of Chris Collins here on The Perspective on WWSU 106.9. What you said, you sent me a text on Saturday afternoon before Shay and I went on and did ESPN Plus on Saturday, and it was really I really appreciated it because the nerves were kicking in. Shay had been on ESPN Plus a few times before then, but for me that was going in blind and coming in, and again, I really thank Wright State Athletics and Nick Phillips and everybody involved for making that happen. But your words of wisdom were very helpful.
Well, hey, you know what? I wouldn't have said it if I didn't mean it because, with Shay and yourself, I saw how passionate you guys are, about sports and about broadcasting, and that kind of makes me feel good because I see guys who want to succeed, guys who, and I told Nick Phillips, I said, listen, you don't have to worry about these two because I said, I know that they will be prepared because that's the biggest part about it, being prepared. Being a little bit nervous, you'll be nervous for years before you go on, before you do anything, and that's good.
Yeah.
To have those butterflies because you care.
Right.
And that's the reason why, because that's what I felt over the years, and I was so excited for you guys to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I got to go back and I got to watch that because for some reason I did not renew my ESPN Plus this year, but Nick said he'll go ahead and get me a copy of that. But from all I've heard from people, and even Jim Brown, he said he thought you guys did a really, really good job. So sky's the limit for you both.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate it. So, Chris Collins here on The Perspective, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.